On the news today, abductors demand 50 million to free Akwa Ibom school principal. Nigerian Exchange Limited lists Lagos Free Zone 25 billion naira infrastructure bond. UN says blackout threatens Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. Premier League cancels matches in respect of late Queen Elizabeth II. Details shortly. Us on Atlantic Television Network's Global News this evening. Well, we'd like to really apologize. We're starting a little bit behind scheduled time. Some technical issues we had to really handle, but still we're here with us. And moving on with the first stories. Last month, Anambra earned her first revenue as an oil-producing state in Nigeria. The state received 268 million naira as 13% derivation oil revenue. The news of the receipt was, however, bugged by controversies, but it was a welcome relief to the Professor Chukwuma Soludo's administration, which has been crying about paucity of funds. Though the gate of oil revenue opened under Soludo's administration, previous governments have worked towards actualizing it. The journey towards making Anambra an oil-producing state spans back to previous administration in the state. The duo of former governors, Dr. Chinwoke Mbadinuju and Dr. Chris Ngige, all have a hand in the journey. But many years after the duo left office, their successors have also done a lot of work to make the dream of the state come to pass. In 2012, the state stood still when the governor Peter Obi, after extensive investment in oil sector, was able to pull the President Goodluck Jonathan down to Anambra State Commission to commission the Orient Refinery. Abductors of Mr. Mande Ekoriko, the principal of Madonna Community Secondary School in Orok, Anam, local government area of Akwa Ibom State, have demanded 50 million naira ransom. Ekoriko was kidnapped last Saturday at his country home, Udiagang village in Etim, Epo, local government area of the state, during a church service at United Evangelical Church, UEC. Our correspondent learned that the hoodlums contacted the principal's family and demanded 50 million naira to set him free. The kidnappers, it was gathered, threatened to kill their captive if the demand was not met within the stipulated time frame. Ahead of the kickoff of the 2023 general elections campaign across the country, a special assistant to Governor Udom Emmanuel on media, Reverend Richard Peters, have cautioned the a political class against a campaign of calumny and violence that could heat up the party. It warned politicians and their supporters, especially the opposition parties, not to capitalize on the peaceful disposition of the governor by taking the laws into their hands. The governor's aide, who is also a pastor with the African Church, Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, said this on Friday while interacting with newsmen in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State. He said, as the campaigns for the 2023 election are going to kick off in less than 10 days, I urge the politicians to play by the rules and avoid campaigns of bitterness and calumny, especially against the government of the day. The Nigerian army has benefited greatly from the President Muhammadu Buhari's unwavering support and encouragement. Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, the Chief of Army Staff, commended Buhari for his tireless efforts to ensure that the workforce is operationally reliable and effective so that they can carry out their duties in the nation. Yahaya made this remark at the 13th Biennial Training Conference of the Nigerian Army Finance Corps in 2022, which was held at the Abati Barracks of the Nigerian Army Ordnance Corps in Ojuelegba, Lagos. The COAS claimed that the training conference offered a special platform for developing capabilities, knowledge, and skills in financial management in line with the international best practices. He said the training was specifically designed to improve the capacity and competencies of officials to enable them operate optimally towards efficiency and career progression. The 2023 general elections has been seen by many to be another opportunity for Nigerians to make things better again in the country. Speaking on ATN's election 2023, a leadership coach and corporate governance expert, Sir Ikechi Wogo, admonished Nigerians to make Nigeria the pride of Africa again by ensuring that they vote via conscience.
Nigeria has come of age, and we should begin to identify with ideals of democracy, because Africa is watching us. Africa will get it right to a large extent when Nigeria gets it right. It's an embarrassment when you hear of very small nations like Rwanda fixing their own, and the world is now finding Rwanda as a destination capital for governance, for positive elements of governance, of leadership ideals. Okay, when you hear Ghana, the world is reckoning with Ghana as though they were the giant of Africa. Okay, you hear positive tales coming from these countries. Okay, at least less negative than you hear from Nigeria. Okay, when you hear of the dream destination, you need to hear the world talk about Rwanda. Okay, and the respect, okay, that their leadership is beginning to acquire all around the world. Then you come home to Nigeria. Okay, I think 2023 should further deepen the tenets of democracy in Nigeria. 2023 should put paid to issues like electoral violence, okay, unnecessary killings, money politics. I like the slogan of "We know they give shishi," the slogan of stinginess put to the table, okay, as a likelihood that, okay, a time will come when there could be contests without money politics, without throwing huge sums of money all around the place, because it makes it messy, it makes it dirty. Voters should vote their conscience, not wait to be bought. Because, I mean, you're given 10,000 naira or $10,000, it would run out in just a span of time. Okay, and so you should be aware that money runs out. And so when you sell your conscience for money, you sell your franchise for money, do realize that suffering lies in wait versus voting your conscience and voting the right candidate. If you vote the right candidate, and I vote in the right candidate, okay, I know someone would ask me, who's the right candidate? That's not issue for today, you know, but when we are both rational and we think credibly, okay, you realize that certain interests will point towards certain definitions of character, of ideals, antecedents, vision, okay, forthrightness, integrity. Then we're narrowing capacity to certain figures, okay, over certain other figures. And then we entrench the rule of law by implication, okay, through the leadership that comes in. That's what we're looking out for. That's credibility.
There was drama in the Niger State House of Assembly yesterday, culminating in the removal of 3 principal officers of the Legislative House. The drama started when one of the members allegedly deceived the Speaker of the Assembly, Alhaji Abdullahi Bawa Wase, that he had a matter of urgent public importance to present on the floor of the Assembly during plenary. Wase was reported to have asked what the issue to be presented was about, which the legislator responded that was on flood, and that the motion was already being typed before promising to oblige the Speaker a copy before proceedings gets to the point. However, when the sitting commenced, the member from the Edati constituency, Alhaji Salihu Tama, did not present the typed copy to the Speaker. Instead, insisted that he would make oral presentation of the motion. The Department of State Services, DSS, says it has recovered large amounts of money in different currencies and denominations, as well as records of financial transactions in Alhaji Tuka Mamo's residence and office in Kaduna. Mamo, a terrorist ransom negotiator, was intercepted by Nigerians' foreign partners in Cairo, Egypt, on the 6th of September 2022. While on his way to Saudi Arabia, he was arrested together with his 2 wives and sons. In a terse statement issued on Thursday, the spokesperson of the Secret Police, Dr. Peter Afonaya, said appropriate security agencies have executed valid search warrants on Mamo's residence and office. During the processes, Dr. Afanoya disclosed that incriminating materials, including military accompaniments, were recovered. According to Afanoya, all the items recovered from the terrorist negotiator, who is also the publisher of Desert Herald newspaper based in Kaduna State, include large amounts in different currencies and denominations, as well as financial transaction instruments. A high court in Yola, Adamawa State has restated Ibrahim Belia as the state chairman of the All Progressive Congress. The court, however, stopped Honorable Samilia Tadawu from further parading himself as chairman. Mr. Ismailia Tabadu was installed as chairman on Monday after the purported removal of Belia by the members of the party's state working committee. Justice Musa Usman issued the order of interim injunctions on Thursday, pending the hearing of the motion on notice filed by Ibrahim Belia challenging his alleged removal of some members of the state working committee. Deputy Semalia Tadawus as the new acting chairman of the party in the state. The Bauchi State Commissioner of Police, Umar Sanda, has said 1,460 suspects of kidnapping, armed robbery, rape, and other crimes have been arrested in connection with 722 cases across the state. He disclosed that 6 AK-47 rifles, 23 Den guns, 20 locally made revolvers, 145 live ammunitions, among others, were recovered within the past 9 months. Sanda said this in a goodwill message on behalf of the Inspector General of Police, Usman Baba, at the opening ceremony of the one-day campaign titled Police Public Compliance Committee, PPCC Sensitization Campaign, organized by the Ministry of Police Affairs on Thursday evening. He said that the campaign is not only timely, but would enhance and enrich accountability in the nation's policing system, especially at such a crucial time when there is need for a standard and functioning police force. The principal of Hasnatan Islamic College, identified similarly as Prosper, has gone into hiding after allegedly defiling 7 female pupils of school around Tanka in Ilorin South local government area of Kwara State. Prosper, who has made allegedly defiling the pupils for a while, usually use his influence as the principal of the school to threaten them against informing anyone. Reacting to this issue on ATN's Society Watch, public affairs analyst Dr. Eugene Undu stressed on the need for proper education in the country.
Educating the child, the student or the pupil holistically. So education should go beyond the classroom work of teaching English and maths and other subjects to giving the student or pupil what the skills, the knowledge that we need to survive in a multifaceted society that we find ourselves in the 21st century. So the child should be taught such things as who to confide in and who not to confide in, who to allow access into his or her life and who not to allow access into his or her life. The child should be made to know who a stranger is to him or her. And no matter how close anybody is to you, that child should be taught to know that there are boundaries. No matter how good, how nice a teacher, a principal, or whatever is to you, there are certain areas of your body that such person should not have access to. And any attempt to get to such areas should be resisted with every amount of strength that a child can muster. 2, they should be taught to open up. That no matter how they are threatened into keeping quiet, they should understand that they should open up, because if you do not open up or expose predators, they will always want to keep trying until they achieve their aim. So if somebody touches you and you keep quiet, the next day the person is going to go the extra mile. So at the first touch, if you can hit the person or slap the person, do. If you cannot, report the person. Children need to be taught to be bold, to speak up, to open up to their parents, to their teachers in school, to tell them that look at what somebody is trying to do at me. And when elderly persons hear such reports, they shouldn't play the role of, my brother's keeper, of my friend's keeper, let's protect his interests on his own. No, the person should be exposed, because if you don't expose a disease, it will not go. A doctor cannot heal any infirmity or sickness without getting it exposed. They need to open it up, clean it up before it will be healed. So people should not hide such things. That's why I really give kudos to the teacher in the school in question that encouraged other students, and they launched the investigation and got to the root of the matter. So children should be educated properly.
Moving on now, the People's Democratic Party has adopted a grassroots approach for its electioneering campaign for the 2023 general election. The PDP National Publicity Secretary, Mr. Dapo Olobunagba, said this at the end of the meeting of the National Working Committee of the party in Abuja. Olobunagba said that the party has also approved a unified campaign structure for its campaign across the country for the general election. He said that the NWC is at its 97th meeting, deliberated on the issues of urgent national importance, as well as the preparations for the 2023 general election. NEC also approved the structure of campaign councils at the state, local government, ward, and unity levels, while it's unanimously empowered the NWC to modify and adjust the structures of the campaign councils as and when the need arises. The National Executive Council of the People's Democratic Party has passed a vote of confidence in the national chairman of the party, Senator Nyocha Ayu, suggesting that the party chairman will not be stepping down anytime soon. There have been calls by members of the party that Ayu should step down as the chairman of the party. Meanwhile, the PDP National Executive Council meeting held yesterday in Abuja. The party further reposed its confidence in Ayu. It was reported in a national daily that a total of 397 members of the NEC, including past national chairman of the party, the immediate past vice president of the party, Namadi Sambo, the PDP presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, among others, were accredited for the meeting. All the 397 members of the NEC present at the meeting voted in support of Ayu to continue as the chairman of the party. Reacting to the confidence passed on Nyocha Ayu is the former member of the Federal House of Representatives, Ogbonna Nwoke, from Rivers State, who played guest on ATN's Open Conversation. He said that the South have been shortchanged, saying that the resignation of the chairman of the Board of Trustees, Senator Walid Jabrin, is a great gift to the South.
What happened yesterday, apart from confidence or no confidence, wouldn't change the dynamics of the conversation. What the dynamics of the conversation right now is that we are saying the South has been shortchanged.
Okay.
We are saying clearly that the constitution of the PDP recognizes rotation, power rotation. And before I came on board, I listened to my friend who said clearly, oh well, political prognosis quoting him, favors what has played. But let me say this, that for those going forward, prior to the convention, positions were swapped. It means that all the positions that were in the south were moved on to the north. And those in the north were moved on to the south. The only thing that did not come back was the transmission of the presidency. And all of this dislocation that you're talking about is a product of the management of that circumstance. Okay, so we think clearly that the Constitution recognizes that the most powerful positions in the party, position that is likely to be occupied by the one who becomes president and the one who becomes party chairman, and that the two cannot be domiciled in the same
Region.
Now, what they did was a Greek gift, saying that perhaps we're a listening party, we've heard your complaints, we think that, well, we could do away with the position of BOT chairman, we could do away with the position of chairman, governor's forum. I mean, all of these positions, BOT is advisory. It doesn't enjoy actual power. But in terms of rotation, in terms of Article 7, subsection 3C, what that section of the Constitution envisaged was that in terms of power sharing, that you cannot situate such powerful positions, two of them, in one region.
In a counter review to the former factional chairman of the APC in Rivers State, Honorable Golden Benchema, said the PDP shortchanged themselves when they threw the presidential ticket open, which he said is the origination of the PDP's undoing.
Now, I want to answer you this way. The party, PDP, got it all wrong when they brought a northern presidential candidate. That is what is fundamentally wrong with the party. All the other things are not wrong. My friend just said that there is a power sharing. What is supposed to come to the south is the presidency. What is supposed to go to the north is the national chairman, which is already there.
Are you saying that for the party to have thrown the ticket open was
the major problem of the party, and they should stop shying away from it. The party lost itself or lost grounds when they opened the presidency for all to come to contest. If the party had done the right thing, which they were supposed to do, they were only playing smart by half. When they were busy creating committees, we are going to do this, what do you call it, the zoning of the presidency. All they did was to shortchange themselves to bring in a northern candidate. We are going to have 8 years of the presidency in the north, specifically from the Hausa Fulani. Are we going to give back to the Hausa Fulanis another 8 years? The answer is no. And that is what the party is suffering from.
Moving on now with other stories, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, is set to appraise the performance of the service to consolidate on the milestone recorded so far. He is also expected to hold interactions with principal officers, general officers commanding, field commanders, and other senior officers in an effort to provide strategic guidance towards enhancing the service operations and administration. A statement by the Army Director of Public Relations, Brigadier General Onyema Wachiku, on Friday said all these are activities lined up for the 3rd quarter Chief of Army Staff Conference. He added that the conference was scheduled to hold between Monday, September 12th and Friday, September 16th in Abuja. You are watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through
back from that break. This is still the Global News and Atlantic Television Network. Moving on now with the rest of the story. September 9th has been set aside to mark the need for Protect Education. As the world marks the first ever International Day to protect education from attack under the theme Protect Education, Save a Generation. Statistics shows that more than 3 million children in the conflict-affected states of Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe in northeast Nigeria are in need of education in emergency support. Reacting to this issue on ATN's Blowout, a public affairs analyst Okechukwu Okonkwo emphasized on the need for massive investment in terms of education.
The American, and it fell on her father. And little Lilibeth at 18, she already knew she was going to be the queen and the heir apparent. And the way she carried herself before, during her reign, is something that's second to none. Quite privileged to have been able to work with about between 14 to 15 prime ministers. She's quite lucky, 70 years on the throne. Apart from the death of Diana, I don't think there is any saga or any crisis that really affected the throne. And the way she has her children, her grandchildren, even seeing her fourth generation, it's quite a great privilege for her. She died very well, died peacefully, and what more can a mother, a queen, and a royalty ask for? The world will definitely miss her. She carried out a lot of social and structural changes in England. In her tenure, they were in the EU, and at some point they also opted out. So she has her high point and her low points, but I think her high points far exceed her low points. The world will definitely going to miss her, but like they say, life is like a dancing stage. Once you finish yours, another person takes the stage to
Speaker of the Ogun State House of Assembly, Olakunle Olumo, on Friday returned to his office after perfecting his bail conditions. Recall that Olumo, who was arrested last week by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, was on Tuesday arraigned before a federal high court sitting in Ikoyi, Lagos State, for allegedly diverting 2.475 billion naira of state funds. He was granted bail in the sum of 300 million naira with 2 sureties in like sum. The speaker on Friday appeared at the assembly complex in Okemosan, Abeokuta, having been away from work for days. He was welcomed by members of staff who said they were happy to see him again in the office. Speaking on behalf of the assembly staff, the chairman of the state chapter of the Parliamentary Staff Association of Nigeria, Ayotunde Ojedira, said the workers were happy to receive back to the office the speaker as well as the assembly clerk, Adedeji Adeyemo, and the accountant Samuel Oladayo, who were also arraigned for the same charges. Nigeria Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative has urged the federal government to stop payment of subsidy on petroleum products. The executive secretary of NATI, Dr. Oji Ogbonnaya Oji, who was before the ad hoc committee investing subsidy regime in Nigeria, revealed that 13.8 trillion naira was spent on subsidy between 2005 to 2020. He said this has been a huge burden on Nigeria's economy, making it almost impossible for government to respond to the yearnings of its citizens. Oji also disclosed that the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, does not comply with 90 days remittance procedure to the Federation account, leading to NNPC not able to remit 270 billion to federal government in 2018 and 2019.
From our report, Nigeria has spent 13.7 trillion naira, equivalent of $74.38 billion on subsidy payments. We have here data on what has been paid from 2005 every year to 2020. By May 2016, PMS, NNPC actually became the only major importer of PMS. And there was this culture of deductions without formal recourse to the defunct PPRA. of course, PPPRA, of course, you are aware that following the Petroleum Industry Act, PPRA had merged with the Downstream Commission. We have data on percentage of what was deducted within that period, the deductions by the NNPC in 2018, 2019, and in 2020. Now, the other area of your concern is on direct sales, direct purchase. The DSDP scheme was introduced in 2016 to address the huge losses associated with crude swaps and offshore processing. NNPC manages the tendering process for the sales of the equity, Federation equity crude, share of crude oil, both the ones lifted and those who sold under export category, and the direct sales, direct purchase under the domestic crude category. All of them were being managed by the NNPC. From the total crude oil volume of 255.56 million barrels lifted by NNPC 2018, for instance, actual sales were 255.313 million barrels, valued at 18.184 billion US dollars. The difference of 233,000 barrels between volume lifted and actual quantities sold has been explained as sales accounted for in 2019. The issues that NIT identified in this process. For instance, within the transactions, the NNPC is expected to comply with 90 days payment terms in remitting the proceeds of Federation crude. 90 reports examine the pattern and consistency of remittances of sales proceeds in the designated bank accounts and gas revenues by the NNPC. It was evident that NNPC most times do not comply with the mandatory 90 days requirement. They have their own explanation, but our concern is that these delays result in a lot of revenue loss, for which Nigerian government and Nigerian people also pay heavy price.
In the same vein, the executive secretary, who expressed worry over the cost of pipeline repairs and management by the NNPC, told the committee that the absence of refineries in Nigeria to refine oil for domestic consumption has made the country vulnerable in the international market, noting that when the price oil goes up in the international market, Nigeria does not benefit.
On PMS, payments for pipeline repairs, maintenance, and payment for crude and product losses were also issues that we have raised very red flag in the way and manner they were managed. We have also made some recommendations, which are also not just for purposes of this, where everything I'm saying came directly from our report. The tragedy of our situation is that when prices are high in the market, we don't benefit, we buy. So when prices are, like now, prices are high as a result of conflict, Russia, Ukraine, oil producing countries are smiling to the bank, but we buy. So if there is anything that triggered within the international market for the oil prices to go high, Nigeria is vulnerable because we go to buy. So we don't benefit. Whatever we sell, we buy. If it's high, we sell high and buy high. So we don't break even. Maybe if we look closely on our 2011 report, we might see major global developments in the oil market that triggered the prices. Yeah, and I think that was a year, I'm just being reminded that oil went almost $120 per barrel. Instead of us benefiting maximally, we also buy, just as now. We are buying when it's high, when it's low, we are buying, so we are not in anywhere. A country like Norway benefits maximally at that time. If we are refining our products here and we're sustaining local production here, then we'll be insulated from high prices when it's high. When you see the fluctuation, it's a reflection of ups and downs in the international market.
Members of the committee raised concerns on the presentation by the Executive Secretary.
Billion naira. We cannot give universities are closed. Yet you are the ones saddled with this responsibility. And you have not been bold enough to say this subsidy should end. Is it that you are enjoying the subsidy? Or do you think you have failed in your duty to give a good advice to the country? And we can see the discrepancies, like pointed out. Some years it will go very high, other years lower. What is the answer or the rationale for it to be so high? Some years are lower. Is it that some years we didn't use petrol at all, or some other years we use it? From the figures you've given, the total trillions spent on subsidy and the billions of dollars, is it $74 billion spent on subsidy? And the amount that is higher than the Nigeria budget for several years. Nigeria roads are bad. Railways will borrow money to do them. Nothing is actually working. University lecturers are asking for just 1.2 trillion since 2011. You know that when you divide what they are asking for per...
Where the total due from NNPC is about 2.9 trillion and 2.1 trillion in 2018 and 2019.
And I can see that the payments made, keeps fluctuating, not consistent. Look at 2005, it was $2.66 billion. And when you go to 2011, it was $12.18 billion. And in 2020, it was $0.37 billion. Please, can you tell us why it keeps fluctuating?
If there are steady payments of all subsidy-related claims in 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, why should we have to pay 1.9 trillion or 12 million US dollars in 2011? And then immediately it drops down to 690, 495, and then it goes. Does that mean that in 2011 there are increased activities within the country that that's the consumption, that almost doubled the consumption?
Huge numbers that we are struggling to accommodate on pipeline maintenance. And if you remember, in 2011, there was an election. If you look at it, 2011 going into 2012, were election years. So on our own side, I think it has to do with the theft, the opaqueness in subsidy payments. Some of these monies are used for election. Because look at 2018, 2019 again. What was the price? It was high. What was the price of crude oil in the market? Anybody can Google it. I'm from the industry, but anybody can Google it here. Average price of crude oil, you can Google it daily. If you can get from since 1960, you can get it anything you want to get. But we will put it down that when these rates are high, the year before election and the election year, these monies go into elections. Whichever government that's in power. 2011 is not this current government that was in power. But I can state here categorically today, those monies went into elections. And in 2018, 2019, you can see it's very high.
Ada Onaifodu reports that the committee requested Nati Fanishi to furnish it with audit reports on NNPC from 2005 to 2020, record of total crude oil exported by NNPC and the commercial value of crude oil, amongst other things. In an order by the Federal High Court in Lagos stopping President Muhammadu Buhari and the National Broadcasting Commission from revoking the licenses of 53 broadcasting stations in the country has been further extended. The order, which was extended, was issued by Justice Akintayo Aluko On August 29th, following a motion export by the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project and the Nigerian Guild of Editors. When the case came up for hearing on Thursday, Justice Daniel Osego extended the order by interim injunction pending the hearing of the motion and notice and adjourned the case to October 26, 2022 for the hearing of the originating summons. This was disclosed in a statement jointly signed by SERAP's Deputy Director Kolawole Oluwadare and the General Secretary NGE Iyobosa Wegerian. A national president of the Association of Local Government of Nigeria, Mr. Kolade Alabi, has urged African leaders to declare climate change as a global emergency. He made the call when he joined other top high-powered delegations, top Nigerian technocrats and international experts at the African Union Summit on Global Center Adaptation held in Rotterdam, Netherlands. This is contained in a statement by Mr. Kolade Alabi, a copy of which was made available for our correspondent in Kano State. Mr. Alabi, who decried the high rate of increasing dangers of climate change globally, stressed that any right-thinking person on Earth has a duty towards taking actions that will protect the Earth from destruction. Electorate in Nigeria have been urged to ensure the politicians vying for offices in the 2023 general elections make commitments as to what they will do when elected. The electorate were further charged on ensuring that the politicians are monitored after they have been elected. These were the views of Yusuf Goje and many others in one-day seminar organized by a non-governmental organization in Kaduna.
Ensuring that candidates voted into office come 2023 make sure that the welfare of the electorates are guaranteed. The Partnership for Issues-Based Campaign in Nigeria, PICAN, under the flagship project, The Agenda, supported by the Partnership to Engage, Reform and Learn, PIL, organized a one-day seminar in Kaduna on Thursday. The seminar was meant to teach participants ways on how to engage politicians before the election, commit them to make promises, and to hold them accountable to these promises after the elections. Mr. Yusuf Goji of the Partnership for Issue-Based Campaign in Nigeria explains.
Issues that affect their security and welfare and get these candidates to sign social contracts so that when they get into power, that social contract will be what they will use to measure performance and hold them accountable. But you know, over the years we have built a political culture where it's a lot of noise during campaigns as against having conversations that speak to the issues that affect the ordinary man and woman on the street. So we feel that despite all the noise, we need to bring the attention of not only the politicians but even the electorate to understand what the critical issues are and engage these candidates not just on what they will do, but go further to probe them on how they will do it, whether they have the capacity to do it, and also what results they should expect when these people are elected into power. So that is just it. So whether you discuss these issues during elections or not, these issues exist. So hunger exists, poverty exists, unemployment exists. So whether you discuss them or not is there. So it's better to discuss them so that you are able to understand whether those people that are coming seeking for your mandate have what it takes to address these issues. Because if they don't have what it takes, who would be the end victim?
Earlier on, Mr. Goje charged the participants to ensure that they get commitments from candidates who are vying for electoral offices before such persons are voted into office.
Ensure that there is a commitment between you and the candidate. Because he is not doing you a favor, you are the one doing him a favor because he's using your mandate to get to that position. The day we start to respect the office of the citizen is the day the office of the president will do what we want. But we don't know how powerful we are.
Other participants also added their voice to what was an interesting interaction.
Asking, will the agenda platform, it's on social media and traditional media as we speak, isn't it? After election,
Moving over now to business stories, the Nigerian Exchange Limited has listed the Lagos Free Zone LFZ as 25 billion naira, 13.25% series. Second, senior granted fixed rate infrastructure bond on its platform. Lagos Free Zone LFZ is the infrastructure development company of the Toloram Group and the first private free trade zone in Nigeria. The Lagos Free Zone was established to provide organizations access to the full potential of the West African market by offering access to top tier facilities and services that enable ease of doing business. Recall that the company on August 8, 2022, through LFZC, funding SPV, PLs listed its first insurance of 25 billion naira, 13.25% series, senior granted fixed rate infrastructure bonds due to 2042 under the 50 billion naira bond issuance program. Speaking closing gong ceremony to commemorate the listing of the bond yesterday in Lagos, Divisional Head, Capital Market and GX, Mr. Jude Chimeka, applauded the company on the milestone transaction, which is a testimony to the capacity of Nigerian debt market as a veritable source of domestic capital for infrastructural development in Nigeria. The Petroleum Training Institute's PTI, Eforo Delta State, has called for stronger synergy that will help exploit potentials in the Nigerian oil and gas sector. The call is coming as the institute announces plans to celebrate 50 years of the founding of the great institution. In an online video broadcast by the principal chief executive, PTI, Dr. Henry A. Adimola, the high point of the anniversary celebration will be a one-day national lecture and award event scheduled to hold on October 13th, 2022 in Abuja, with the theme 50 Years of Education, Innovation and Technological Development. As the major training hub servicing the West African oil and gas industry, PTI 50th anniversary will be a gathering of the major stakeholders in the industry with a ministerial address by the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Chief Timi Priesiva, while the keynote lecture will be delivered by Mr. Osage Akumbo, Managing Director of Shell Petroleum Development Company, SPDC, and Chairman of Shell Companies in Nigeria. The organized labor and employers have urged the federal government to deal with the multifarious challenges facing the country. They argued that if the government does not resolve these problems before the next administration takes over, the economic crisis will be worse. These are indications that the economy is headed for the rocks against the backdrop of insecurity, oil theft, inflation, rising debt profile, and unemployment, incessant strikes, multi-taxes and forex crisis bedeviling the country. In view of the above-mentioned problems, experts have urged the federal government to rise up to the challenges to salvage the economy. They said many Nigerians were toiling on the excruciating economic conditions and that the rate at which poverty had eaten deep into the fabric of the country was not only frightening but also heartbreaking. This devastating national situation has left over 70 million unemployed in its trail, they noted. As Nigeria pursues policies aimed at diversifying the economy, creating jobs and hastening socio-economic development, agriculture has been identified as capable of playing a crucial role in actualizing these lofty objectivities. Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, Mr. Lamido Yuguda, stated this at the 26th Annual Stockbrokers Conference with the theme Capital Market and Agricultural Development in Nigeria, Issues and the Way Forward, held in Benin yesterday. He said the theme of this year's conference could not have come at a better time than now, as it showcases the important role the capital market can play in harnessing resources for our nation's agricultural development. According to Yuguda, Nigeria is facing some of its most daunting challenges in recent times, including rising inflation, currently at a 17-year high of 19.64%. Declining government revenues arising from the crude oil production challenges and premium motor spirit PMS, subsidy deductions, concerns around the 33% current rate of unemployment, and massive infrastructure deficit and resultant decline in productivity. You were watching the news on Atlantic Television Network. Up next is international tidbits. More than 800 migrants expelled this week by Algeria have reached the northern Niger town of Agadez, local authorities said. In all, we have 847 people, including 40 women and 74 accompanied children. Agadez Municipal Act authorities said late Thursday the Child Protection Ministry has taken care of the minors, it said. A humanitarian source said some 800 migrants arrived at the borders at the start of the week after being escorted there by Algerian officials. The migrants, mostly from Niger, will be given medical care and basic necessities, the source said. Charles Phillips, author George, born 14th November 1948, is King of the United Kingdom and 14 of the Commonwealth realms. He acceded to the throne on 8 September 2022 upon the death of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, who is the UK's longest-serving monarch, died at age 96 after reigning for 70 years. Reacting to this issue on ATN's Blowout, a public affairs analyst, Okechukwu Okonkwo, laid emphasis on how Queen Elizabeth have been able to navigate the process of leadership.
The American. And it fell on her father. And little Lilibeth at 18, she already knew she was going to be the queen and the heir apparent. And the way she carried herself before, during her reign, is something that's second to none. Quite privileged to have been able to work with about between 14 to 15 prime ministers. She's quite lucky, 70 years on the throne. Apart from the death of Diana, I don't think there is any saga or any crisis that really affected the throne. And the way she has her children, her grandchildren, even seeing her fourth generation, it's quite a great privilege for her. She died very well, died peacefully, and what more can a mother, a queen, and a royalty ask for? The world will definitely miss her. She carried out a lot of social and structural changes in England. In her tenure, they were in the EU, and at some point they also opted out. So she has her high point and her low points, but I think her high points far exceed her low points. The world will definitely going to miss her, but like they say, life is like a dancing stage. Once you finish yours, another person takes the stage to dance.
The head of the UN nuclear agency has warned that the situation at the Russian-held Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant in Ukraine is increasingly precarious. Rafael Grossi said shelling had knocked out power in the nearby city of Edek-Hodad, which fed the plant, and it was unlikely to be restored. The operator was considering switching off the last reactor. Mr. Grossi said this would make the plant totally reliant on emergency diesel generators to prevent a nuclear accident. This is an unstable, unsuitable situation, and it's becoming increasingly precarious. He said in a statement, "This is completely unacceptable. It cannot stand." You are still watching the news on Atlantic Television Network. Up next is Entertainment Stories with Adaobi.
Hello, good evening. My name is Adaobi. Welcome to the entertainment segment of the Global News. And today on the news, Ali Nuhu's Hausa web series Alaka has premiered on Saturday on African Magic Hausa to the delight of northern viewers. Alaka is directed by Nuhu and tells the story of friends, family ties, and a tangled web of deceit. Speaking on the premiere, Executive Head of Marketing, MultiChoice Nigeria, Tokbe Oshunkeye, said the company is topping entertainment for its customers with quality local content. Produced by Khalid Kariedo and Jamilu Awemon, Alaka features an array of Kannywood stars that include Ali Nuhu, Ramadan Booth, Jamilu Sani, Awal Issa West, and many more. Afrobeat megastar Wizkid has announced the date for his next release. He made the announcement via his Instagram account today. Earlier in the week, Wizkid indicated by his Instagram story that he would be dropping new music. He shared that a big announcement was coming on September 9th, and today he revealed that he will be dropping his new single on September 14th. The new single is set to be his first since he added 4 new tracks to Made in Lagos for the Deluxe. The news has sparked excitement amongst fans who have been eagerly waiting for new music from the Grammy winner. As on the news of film, the Brave Ones the Braves Ones trailer has dropped on Netflix. This African-made series, The Brave Ones, which is directed by Akin Omotosho, is a supernatural thriller series and is set to begin streaming on Netflix from September 16th. The six-part series follows a goddess reincarnated as a young woman who must harness her divine powers to avenge her sister's death and protect her family from destruction. The Brave Ones will star Tadinle Nkosi in the lead role as Ntiki, Tadinwe Groge as Tandaza, Bonkokoza as Nkosi, amongst others. And on the foreign scene, Netflix series The Crown will pause filming following the death of Queen Elizabeth II. Fans of Netflix's The Crown may have to wait longer than 2023 for the debut of its sixth and final season in the wake of the Queen's death. According to sources, series creator Peter Morgan has confirmed that production on season 6 will stop out of respect to Queen Elizabeth. The Crown is a series which follows the life of Elizabeth II from prior to her coronation, with the role of the Queen played by actors Claire Foy, Olivia Colman, and most recently, Imelda Staunton. And that's all on the news today. I am Adaobi. Thanks for watching. Back to the news desk.
Thank you, Adobe, for that entertainment stories. And now we move over to Kingsley Balibor for some sports stories. Over to you now, Kingsley.
Good evening and welcome to the Sport Desk on ATN Global News. I am Kingsley Ipalibo. Nigerian sprint sensation Toby Amushon has won the 100-meter hurdles at the Diamond League in a new event record time to continue an incredible winning streak in Zurich yesterday. The world record holder continued where she left off after dominating the women's 100-meter hurdles at the ISTAF 2022 Berlin meeting on Sunday, winning in a time of 12.45 seconds 4 days ago. With the victory, she has successfully defended her Diamond League title with a scorching meeting record of 12.29 seconds to take the win at the Diamond League final in the women's 100 meters hurdles. She was followed by Tia Jones, followed in 12.40 seconds, and Brittany Adams in a third with 12.42 seconds. The federal government, through the Ministry of Youth and Sports, has declared the league management company as an illegal entity. In a press release made available to newsmen today and signed by the Permanent Secretary Ismail Abubakar, reads, in view of the several unpleasant incidents regarding the management of the Football League, specifically the declaration of the Nigeria Football League as an illegal body by the courts, the status of the league management company, the NFL's successors in title being outside the purview of the status of the NFF. No Premier League fixtures will take place this weekend following the death of Queen Elizabeth II. League officials met at 11 a.m. British time, and the decision was made to postpone all 10 matches in the English top flight across Sunday, Saturday, and on Monday. In addition to the Premier League's announcement, the English Football League confirmed a halt to matches this weekend. And that wraps up the news. I am Kingsley Ipalibo, taking you back to the news desk.
Before that, sports stories on the heels of that, we'll call it a wrap on tonight's global news. Before we go, another look at the major stories. Abductors demand 50 million naira to free Akwa Ibom school principal. Nigerian Exchange Limited leased Lagos Free Zone 25 billion naira infrastructure fund. On the foreign scene, the U.S. says blackout threatens Sefoya nuclear plant. On sports, Premier League cancels matches in respect of late Queen Elizabeth II. I am Namdi Uzuku. Thank you for watching all through. You can join us on all our social media handles on Twitter at Atlantic TV Net, Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network. On Instagram, it's at Atlantic TV Network. Remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. God bless you.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.